Okay, everyone, it's 12 noon here, East Coast time. Carm Capriato on the weekly Town Hall Academy from Remarkable Results Radio. Wow. We are here in episode 88, Everything I Did Wrong and What I Learned. I always said I was going to write a book one day, and I didn't want it to be negative. But it's, talk about a basket full of mistakes and the wisdom that comes with it. I hope we have a really great discussion today. We're in a great place, a summit for the forever automotive aftermarket student. Hey, thank you so much to Jasper Engines and Transmissions. Here's another reason to choose Jasper. It's their commitment to continuous improvement, their investment in research and development, product updates, and remanufacturing processes means Jasper provides the perfect product. Ever have a chance to go to the plant, get a tour, you got to go. It'll be a highlight of your aftermarket career. Hey, everything I did wrong and what I learned. Who's with me here today? Well, we'll start with ladies first. Bambi Crozier, Car Clinic in Lowell, Arkansas. Hi, Bambi.
Right. Hello.
You're looking good today.
Thank you.
Good today. Frank Scandura from Frank's European in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Good morning.
Hey, Frank. Been to Frank's place. In fact, we'll do our live Town Hall Academy during show week at Apex right from Frank's place. So if you're going to be there, and even if you're not, going to be participating in the show, we're actually doing a shop tour at Frank's place. Not hard to find. Just search for that in Google. We'll be there probably starting at least 8 o'clock in the morning, so we can set up for that. And Tom Lambert's with us, Shadetree Automotive in Layton, Utah, in the runway lane. Thanks so much for being here. I'm excited about this topic because us wise people, people look at it and says, "Wow, he never made a mistake." Well, that's not true. We know that as great businessmen. So, Frank, I want to start with you. I don't know about you, but I always thought I could do all the work.
That was one of my big mistakes, and especially, I've always described it this way too when I talk to shop owners. As a technician, like most of us have started out, we controlled everything we did. The car came to us, we figured it out, we fixed it, we gave it back, and controlled that entire process. So when we move into shop ownership, we still think the same way. Well, I can control the entire process. Let me order the parts, let me do the paperwork, let me do the payroll, let me do the billing, let me. Because after all, who can do it better than I can? Certainly nobody. And then we tend to create this environment of not, first of all, my biggest problem with that barrier was afraid to hire people smarter than I was. Afraid to hire people better than I was, because you get a little bit of I'm the king, I'm the guy, it's my name on the building, I did this. So thinking I could do it all was a huge stumbling block for me.
Frank, we've all made that mistake. Can you think back to where was that life-changing moment that you realized you needed to hire smarter people than you?
Yeah, it was probably one of my frustrations where I stuck my bony Sicilian finger in the air and said, I built this. And just like that, the spirit of conviction pierced my heart and was like, you think you did all this? That was a turning moment for me. And that was a hard realization. And that broke me for a moment to make me realize, you didn't do this. Number one, I have a higher power that I answer to. He's the one that gives me the gifts, the talents, the abilities to move forward in my life, with the ideas and everything. Then it was him who brought the people into my life who asked me for a job. They asked me for a job, right? I didn't go knocking on doors and saying, come here, I'm going to force you to work for me. They asked. And it was up to me to give them the opportunities, the tools they needed to succeed, and not think that this was all me.
When did you realize a team was important, Frank?
It was early on. It was probably around, I opened in 2001, probably 2004 or 5. It took me a few years to get that. I knew a team was important, but I thought that
but there's no I in team, and that's what had to happen to you.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? And my problem was Who showed you how to do it that way? Get out of here. I'll find someone else to do it. What'd you do it that way for? Get out of here. I'll find someone else to do it. Man, I chewed up a few good people doing it.
You know, what I think Frank is really trying to say here is he may have been a micromanager, and boy, do I have scars about that. Tom, were you ever a micromanager?
Oh yeah, I could write a book, buddy. And it wasn't necessarily. I always understood the need for a good team. I don't necessarily think. I like to think that I've always been fairly humble. I don't think it was a fact that I thought that I was the best. I just feel like my business grew so fast that I never really had a time to really sit back and reflect. Things were just always happening. And I felt like I ran my shop with so much in my head that there was no way that I could explain everything that was up there in the daily routine for somebody else to succeed by doing it. Therefore, by not being able to explain to them how to do it, I didn't know how to explain how to do it, so I would just do it. So a little bit different perspective for me. I never really micromanaged necessarily because I didn't think somebody else could do it. I almost micromanaged because I didn't feel like I could explain to somebody else how to do it, if that makes sense.
That's happened to me before. I don't mean to butt into this conversation, but I remember asking someone to do a project. I thought I explained it well, then it was done, and then I went over, and then I showed them what I really meant or what I thought I said. And after a while, I'd say do the project, and everyone found an excuse not to do it. They were too busy. They had other things going on. And so it never got done because I never let someone express their own creativity and accept that. And then sooner or later, what I think happens is you work toward sameness once everyone has a chance to do that. So I guess I loved being perfect all the time, right, Bambi?
Yes. Yes. I came in thinking that everything's always been fairly easy, right? For me, it didn't take a lot. God gives us lots of gifts, and everything that I've always had to do was always fairly easy. And it kind of, this perfection falls in line with you can't do everything on your own. So you can put together all these processes, and you can put together how you want things to flow, but you can't force those things upon everybody else. And what works easily for me, the words that flow easily for me may not be so easy for my service writer. They may not flow the same way for my technicians. So perfection was a challenge for me because I expected myself to be perfect. I expected my staff to come in and be perfect almost from the get-go, no training because there was no time for that. This is how I need you to do it. I've told you once, let's get it done. And that's a bad place to be. What we really need to do is just expect us to be our best and listen, support, and empower our team, because if they're coming to meet me at that line every day and I know that they're working with my values at heart, and they're wanting to take, they're protecting this brand, then I've got to allow mistakes. I can't be so hard and harsh. And that's been a big learning for me over the last several years, is that I've got to step back and allow people to make mistakes, and heck, allow myself to make mistakes and kind of laugh at it.
Yeah, I think your point is so well taken. It's almost like you have to put your hand up and pledge that there is no perfection that exists. And
nothing. No one is perfect, and it's okay to make a mistake.
It's yeah, okay. And can we learn from it? I think the beauty of coaching, the beauty of leadership, is that together as a collective team we learn from those. And there's so much talk about technicians need to go to a school that's longer than 2 years so that they can actually break more things before they enter the industry. But you need to. It's really funny, but it's true. And when they come into your place, you've got to allow them to break a few things. And one guy suggested that you buy a couple of clunkers that don't work and put the new tech on them, and then right. Let them turn them around, make their own mistakes, and of course then sell the unit to and that really goes so far as to all the learning curve. Frank, it's like we don't know what we don't know. And, and in fact, once you accept that, in my opinion, you accept the fact that that's going to be a lifelong challenge.
It's even deeper, right? It's not what I don't know. It's understanding what others don't know. Because I always struggled with, why don't you know that? Why didn't you think that? Like Bambi was saying, it just flows so naturally out of me, this gift that I have. I don't understand why you don't do it. I had to learn that here's the starting point. Here's the ending point. Sometimes my path is a little more direct than somebody else's. If the end product is the same, I had to back off, let them operate in the gifts that they have, as long as the end product was the same. Yeah. And my biggest challenge is, even today, because I can hear all of my service advisors through my office, is not jumping up to get involved in the middle of the conversation. I've learned, and it's hard and I hate it, but what I've learned to do is, after the situation's over, hey, I noticed that this happened. What could have been done differently? Mm-hmm. And then that forces them to go, well, maybe I should have done this or that. I go, okay, I like that. Let's do that next time. And trust me, my instinct is, why did you do it? I want you to do it this way. That's my instinct.
Yes. So
you sit on your Italian Sicilian hands.
My bony Sicilian fingers in my pocket.
Yeah. I'm half of that. And so, yeah, you just don't get involved until post involvement is what you're saying.
And sometimes it costs money, right? Sometimes it costs me money. So, and I've got to understand that those mistakes cost me money in the old days when I was making the mistakes. I've got to help my people learn, even if it's, could I have intervened and saved me 100 or 200 or 300 or whatever it is? Maybe. Did they learn? No. And I've got to stop creating the environment where they run to me. Dad, what do you think about this? Dad, what do you think about that? Dad, what do you think about this?
Do you ever worry that you can't scale your business so that you can actually leave for 2 weeks and not have to be worried?
Yeah, I used to. Okay. And I've got to the point where I don't come in at the crack of dawn anymore, and I don't leave. I'm not first in, first out, last out anymore. And I used to be the only one that had the key. And then somebody made a comment to me. He says, well, if you don't trust your people with a key, why do you have them working here? And I said, it's not that I don't trust them. It's I'm in charge, my shop, my deal. I'm first in, I'm last out. You know what? It's a bunch of nonsense. And I'm not the first in anymore, and I'm not the last out anymore. And being able to trust the people to do the job they need to do is amazing.
I love what Frank is saying, Tom. I mean, he's basically saying is get out of your own way.
Perfect.
Yeah, sure.
So training, Tom, what kind of training did you take on in the early days? You were probably going through every piece of mechanical training that you could find, every technical training. And did you ever take any leadership training early on?
Not early on. And honestly, that was a big difference in my life. I state that quite often. I didn't, Aftermarket Community does a good job of providing and putting technical training in front of us, but leadership, management, sales training, I didn't even know there was such a thing, So I got invited to my first kind of like, I think it was like a 12 numbers you need to know class. I was probably about 5 years ago, and it was from one of my suppliers, and I was like, yeah, sounds interesting. I went, and honestly, it almost angered me that I hadn't known about stuff like that for the previous almost 20 years, because you don't know what you don't know. And, I didn't know a lot, so I was just a guy that knew how to work with common sense and no training or really anything to be doing what I was doing at the scale I was doing it at.
Hey everybody, the soundbite. He just mentioned the soundbite. I was angry at myself that I didn't know this. And
yeah, it was an eye opener for sure.
Basically, I put my ego on the shelf and I started to realize I don't know what I don't know. And that's a moment. every business owner, small business owner, needs to have.
Yeah, and you need to get mad enough at yourself to make changes in yourself.
Bambi, happened to you?
Absolutely.
Take us to the day.
So let me take you to the day. I've probably, it's pretty embarrassing. So I'm gonna just paint you a story for a minute. We opened in 2012, and my husband and I, he's brilliant at wrenching, and I understand sales and customer facing and people. And so we were a good duo, the two of us, and we did very well. And my husband always, I'm always arguing with him to understand his value. Know your value. You don't understand your value. Let me run this side of the wall. You run that side of the wall. I got this. Let me go. But in that, there was a little bit of a big head coming from me because I came from corporate America. I understood processes. I understood. So he would want me to come out and look in the shop at things. And I don't need to know all that. I need to know this side. Let me run this side. You run that side. And which is all well and good. You get all your processes together and it goes along with the perfection, and you can't do this alone, is you can go that far, that you can do that for so long by yourself. You can even bring some staff into that, but it becomes toxic. It becomes toxic when you've got this big head who thinks they know everything, running around, running processes, not including others in creating the processes. And it all came to a head last year. I mean, that's how fresh it is. So 2017, we lost our location where we were and had to quickly find another building. And I'm in Northwest Arkansas, where warehouse type space, which is what we need, goes to the vendors, and most of the commercial property owners do not want oily, greasy mechanics inside these spaces when they can rent them for top dollar to all these vendors that are here for Walmart. So it was challenging to find a space. We finally found a space. And in that interim, I lost my entire staff, y'all. Like, my entire staff quit because we weren't sure that we were even going to find a space. And my husband tells me I'm too transparent. I tell everybody everything. So I had told my staff everything that was going on, and I wasn't sure if we had a location, and we were going to figure it out, and trust me, and I got this, and God's on my side, and we're going to be doing this. Except for the only one who believed it was me. So eventually, let me grab a cup of a drink real quick. Eventually, we moved. We replaced the staff. My husband and I had a trip to the UK planned, 30 days after that. We planned for a year and a half, that was scheduled for 30 days after we moved into this new location with this new staff. I should have made the decision not to go or postpone it, and I didn't. It almost lost my business in that time frame. So training is critical. Understanding you don't know what you don't know is critical. Learning to pull others into your process, and you don't have to know it all, and you don't have to be perfect, is critical.
Thank you for being so transparent. A tough story to tell, but so much wisdom there. Wow. Good stuff. Thank you. Hey, a family needs their vehicle. About 11, it keeps their vehicle. Family keeps their vehicle about 11 plus years today. So where's the first place to turn when their drivetrain fails? Jasper. An engine or transmission is a major purchase, and it should be trusted to a 100% associate-owned company for quality remanufactured products. Thank you, Jasper, for supporting and bringing free the Town Hall Academy to the automotive aftermarket. Wow. Thank you for that, Bambi. I know that was a hard story to tell. So Frank, you're telling me that you felt you could do all the work. So, when you went home at night and you were the service manager and the owner and the bank deposit guy and the tech and all of that, didn't it hit you over the head that, what the hell am I doing? Do I have a hobby? Do I have a real business here?
Kind of like Thomas, when I started to get those trade magazines that had those great articles in it, and I became an ASA member, Net Inc. magazine, really has some really great articles for the shop owner. And when I started to learn how to transfer my thought process from the technician to the service advisor to the service manager to the shop owner to a business owner. And that's what helped me break free. That's when I realized I needed to put people in place to do the job I need done. Hire better, help them learn, and then hold them accountable, right? I even wrote an article a few years ago about, are you holding yourself accountable? If you don't hold yourself accountable, how are you going to hold your staff accountable? And we tend to do that. Joe Marconi just wrote an article recently, about that. Usually the problem with a business owner's frustration is you're the problem, right? And Bambi's pointing to herself and I'm pointing to myself. And when things aren't going well, and that was a great reminder and a great time for that to come out, is, okay, let's look at the top again. I don't know about you guys. I got 15, 16 employees. They all just want to come in and do a good job. Nobody comes in to irritate me. Nobody comes in to see if I can light Frank off like a Scud missile. Even though they do sometimes, but that's okay. But that's usually my reaction to something that's really quite normal.
Boy, that's a big comment right there. It's your reaction.
Yeah. Because you know what? We can't control anything other than how we react to what happens to us. It's all I can control. I can't control the technology. I can't control the customers. I can't control the vehicles. I cannot, control anything other than my reaction to it.
But we can hire smarter than us.
Oh my gosh, that's the trick right there. Yeah.
Hire smarter than me. I got to find people who are smarter than me. And I have, and that's a blessing.
Yeah. And then let them do the job we fired them to do. Give them the tools to do it.
We fired ourselves so that they could do.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, fire yourself so you can hire people smarter and better than you and delegate that responsibility. You wouldn't sit across from someone saying, "I really need this really top-notch, superstar, rock star in the industry," and then never let them be it.
Shame on us.
Tom,
you can. You can. I did it.
Yeah, and that's why you're here telling us the story.
That's right.
Tom, any hiring, woulda, coulda, shoulda, experience that you'd love to share?
Yeah, I used to be terrible in this arena. Hiring used to just give me anxiety. Training, firing was even worse. I used to just kind of take people for their word because I didn't really know. I didn't really have a great process of how to know what the result I wanted off of a phone interview. I didn't know the exact result I wanted off of a sit-down interview. In my mind, I just really wanted the person across from me to be the person, so I didn't have to say no. So therefore, I would find myself the whole time we're talking, convincing myself why this is the person instead of looking at it from a different view, trying to prove why it's not. Yeah, it's almost kind of an ongoing joke around here because I'm pretty transparent. So everybody that works for me, almost everyone on my staff was part of my staff back when I used to be terrible at hiring. By sheer luck, honestly, I've got the staff that I have. I'm very, very blessed in that manner, but it wasn't necessarily due to my fine-tuned hiring and interviewing skill at all.
Were you using the fog the mirror discipline?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. You would guess I was. I mean, I've always had common sense. I mean, I could definitely weed through the guy that had jumped from shop to shop to shop that always had something negative to say about somebody else. Obviously, if they have something bad to say about their past 3 employers, I'm probably going to be the next one on their list that is the dirtiest guy in the world. You know what I mean? So I at least knew enough to avoid the negative people. But now, honestly, I hire off of a culture. The young lady that runs my office came to me 7 years ago and was a realtor. Walked into my office as a service advisor's assistant. Probably couldn't have even told you what a tie rod was or if her car had one. And now she runs my whole shop and does an amazing job. And everybody in the area compliments me on her and would love to have her, but they never can. So yeah, we hire off a culture. Same thing goes for my advisors. One of my best advisors came from from outside the industry. I just liked him, knew he would work well with me, trained him what he needed to know, and now he's one of the best out there. And I hope to work with him the rest of our career. Nobody else can have him either. So
good.
So let's do something different. Let's talk about customers. Let's talk about everything you learned, everything you did wrong and everything, what you learned when it comes to customers. Bambi?
Well, I'll tell you this, is that I've always treated my clients the way that I would want my daughter or my mother treated. I want them taken care of. When I moved from service writing to hiring someone for that and running the shop, I still maintained that and forgot, my role then moved to, I needed to have that mentality for my employees and allow them, my clients or my service writer to maintain my customer relationships. So I would say for me, I've got to allow Chris to maintain those relationships. I've got to encourage when people reach out to me personally, whether it be on my cell phone or my Facebook or whatever, however they email me, I've got to encourage that relationship to go through Chris. I will tell you one story that is I've got to hire someone who's better than me at certain things. I had a client that wanted us to do a head gasket on a Subaru. It was, 200,000 miles. We should not have done the head gasket. We should have explained and said, you got other issues going on, or whatever the case may be. We should have encouraged an engine job. We went in, everything looked okay. We did the head gasket. She drove to somewhere off in Tennessee, called and said, now we have no oil. Well, this was the first time we'd seen the client, the last time we saw the client, and it got ugly, and she got really ugly on the phone. And this was our first year. I mean, we weren't in business 18 months, and I didn't handle it well. This lady's cursing at me on the phone. I didn't know what she was talking about. She wouldn't calm down. So when I look to hire service writers, I look for someone who works really well under pressure, especially if somebody's getting in your face, because people are not kind sometimes when their cars break down. They forget that you're dealing with another human there who's trying their hardest to help you. So the two things for me is now I've got to put my focus on taking care of my employees and let my service writer take care of my clients. And I hire for someone who can handle that situation that I had with much better grace than I did, because 15 minutes into that call and I got a little sailor-like and hung up the phone, and that was the end of that. So
I love that.
Not my best moment. So
oh, that's sailor-like. Yeah, that does happen. Frank, learning curve on customers from, what you thought to what you know now?
I didn't know it was okay to fire customers. I thought the customer was always right, no matter what. And the truth is, the customer is usually right, but some people can be unreasonable. And very politely and very professionally, it's okay to say, I don't think this is the right shop for you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Oh, no, you're going to work on my car. I'm sorry. I don't think this is the right shop for you. Thanks for stopping by. And I've gone so far as to stand by the door, holding the door open, and I'll stop talking and wait for them to walk out and leave. And that was hard because, hey, they came to me and I got to take care of them and I got to do what's right. And, it's okay to terminate your relationship with customers.
You could tell it's blazoned in his mind on having done that first one. And so how many over the course of years has that happened?
It's probably 2 or 3 times a year at minimum that I'll get involved to that point and say, listen, we have a customer here recently, and over the last 10 years, we've probably done $17,000 worth of work for her. And every single visit is drama. Every single visit is, you guys did this, you guys did that, I don't understand. And it's this constant battle. And it's just at the point where, every single time we're interacting on this vehicle, it sucks the life out of a number of people. And how many of us have experienced, we're concentrating on that difficult customer that's demanding, wanting discounts, refusing to pay the full bill, and all these other problems that go with it. Every single thing that goes wrong with the car is our fault, ever since you. And then you got that really good customer that's up here is going, look, guys, if you don't have time for me, I'm just going to go somewhere else. Never says a word, never complains, and just goes away, and you never know why. So to get to that, to really recognize that, to say, listen, this is just too hard of a relationship. It's like having a friend that, how many of us have those friends that we don't talk to them for 6 months, and we pick up right where we left off, and we're laughing, we're having fun. Then you've got that friend, he said, hey, I was thinking about you. Oh, I thought you lost my number. Did you forget to call me? And then it's like, sorry, I just remembered this trick. I'm going to put on my phone, do not answer for those calls, right? So it's okay to remove those people from our lives, customers, friends, family, whatever it is. That's hard.
Lifts the weight, doesn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to make you happy, and we don't want you unhappy, and I don't want to be unhappy. So let's make a happy move and get you connected with someone that I think might fit you better.
Yep, absolutely. And I love it when somebody says, "No, I'm going to make you work on my car." I'll actually chuckle. Nah,
By the way, you had mentioned Auto Inc. magazine and the great articles that you read, and Tony Mulla was with us here, and he's probably busy and had to get off, but I wanted to give a shout out to Tony. Learning curve on marketing. Tom?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Did
This
you
show
hear
needs
that
to be about 12 hours long for me to get these things off my chest. So marketing wise, I did the typical thing that I now coach all the shops to quit doing is discounts, oil changes, coupon, all those words that almost just churned my stomach right there to say those. You know what I mean? I feel like the walls are going to fall in on me to even state those words around here. I used to bring customers in because I just felt like I always needed more. I just needed more customers. I just needed to work harder, right? That's why I didn't make enough money. I just need to work longer hours and bring more customers in and give them what they need.
More cars. Yeah.
So I used to do all those discounts, and then you bring a customer in on a discount, and then if you're not a discount model shop, you just tricked them, right? Like you can't bring them in thinking you're this and then give them this. I really feel that's something that's plaguing our whole industry is we're bringing them in on something this, and then we're trying to cram this down their throat. And so it just worked out. It ended up working out okay because I was good at turning a lot of those customers that weren't necessarily my customer into a customer over time and earning market share. But thankfully, I got enough market share now to where I still help everybody. Everybody I help, no matter who calls me or comes in my office. It's just now a lot of those customers I'm helping by referring them to the shop down the road. You know, if they have to have it right now and can't wait on me, I've got a shop that can do waiters all day, every day. If they need a significant discount and that's all they care about, I pick the next shop in my town that is going out of business, and I send them down there to speed that process up. And we're nice and courteous to everybody, but we've got a very specific target. You know, we're one of the higher cost shops around. I might be 10% more than some competitors, but I better be providing at least 25% more value for that money spent with a lot of the things we do, the processes we follow. The team I have is worth 100% more in my opinion than anybody. So very, very narrow target market now that I've grown up a little bit. So.
Thank you. Are we copying big box stores when it comes to, seeing their marketing? Well, they're doing coupon. We should do a coupon. They're doing 4 for 1. We should do 4 for 1. They're doing discount. We should do discount, because if we don't, we're not going to stand out. We're not going to stand in. Are we just doing copycat marketing?
It's worse. Yeah. Go ahead, Bambi.
I think so. I think where it really boils down to is, do you understand what business model you're going after? Because to me, I think there's two different mindsets in business. There is there is that discount world, or there is the value world. And it depends on which way you want to go. And I'm not going to say either one is good or bad. I know which one I've chosen, because it's less stress on me. It's less stress on my team. It's less stress on my clients. And I'm working with people who value what we do instead of value money. And not that I'm not affordable, because I am, and not that I'm trying to rip people off, because that's not the case. But I would prefer, for me, what's important to me in my life is my time, it's my relationships, and therefore those are my values. That's what I'm putting into my business. And I've run this relational business for several years, and then we moved last year, and my life was turned upside down last year, and I reached out to some people and got some advice to do some discount marketing. And I actually had some long-term good clients call me and say, Bambi, that's not who you are, and that's not who I want to do business with, so I need you to make a decision. And I'm very blessed with our Walmart world and our vendors here. A lot of the vendors are our clients, and they are very smart in their business, which I've been able to get some great advice. So I got some good advice from some of my long-term clients that says, Bambi, that's not who you are. So I need you to make, if I were you, I'd be making a decision, because that's not the type of shop I want to go to. And it woke me up, and I'm like, okay, all right. I really need to stick to my core and understand my business model, and then make sure all of my marketing aligns, make sure my hiring aligns, make sure my training aligns to that. I can't jump back and forth.
Got it. Frank, learning curve on marketing.
Sure. So when I first started, I didn't have a clue about marketing, and I trusted the people who knocked on the door or called on the phone and said, I'm here to show you this awesome product. And they would bring their presentation. I wouldn't have a clue what they were talking about. And I would agree to do it. And they'd say, what kind of offer do you want? And that was in the early days. And I said, well, I don't know. Why? He said, well, that's how you know it's working, when they show up with the offer. I was like, oh, well, let's do this and let's do that. And like the other guys, it's like, then you dilute your value and you start bringing those lower quality customers in who will buy it at the cheapest price no matter what. And I learned that one day when I had a guy come in, and I was putting a ignition lock in his car, and I noticed a new water pump. And I said, I told you needed a water pump last time you were here. How come you didn't let me do it? He goes, I found it cheaper. That was it. And that's when I realized I'm getting the work when I'm cheaper. I have to stop, and I'm better than this. I'm good at what I do. I give a good product. I give good service, and I had to stop trying to be cheaper. I wasn't a pizza. I couldn't please everybody. I had to do what I needed to do to earn a living. And Tom had mentioned, when you go to the training and you finally learn to watch your numbers and what you should be doing and what the reality is, changed everything. And then we started to become a model of quality, a model of value. Those of you who've seen my showroom, people walk in and go, wow, this is a repair shop. That's exactly what I want them to think when they come in. So yeah, I had to learn the hard way by learning that I couldn't trust those people, because their job is to get their money, not to get my money, not my customers.
Frank, was the hard way years and years, or did all of a sudden this happen over the course of, say, 18 months?
It was probably a few years. I'm going to say the first 5 years were really, really tough. In fact, if it wasn't for a really, really good relationship I had with a high-end used car dealer, who I did all of his recon work and all of his warranty work, which meant they could trust us implicitly. So when a customer said, hey, I have a problem with my car, they knew to take it to Frank. He'll do the right thing no matter what. He'll let me know if it's my problem. He'll let the customer know if it's their problem. And I was able to build a great customer base that way. So it probably took me, I'm going to say, up to 5 years to really just get out of my way and realize, I didn't just buy a job. This isn't a hobby anymore. I've got to get serious about this.
Thank you for that. So I'm a shop owner, and I have to appreciate numbers. what is this that my accountant's trying to tell me? What is this that I keep hearing and reading about KPIs and numbers and net operating profit and gross margins? Ah, Ugh.
So, as a coach, right? And those are the very, very first questions I ask. Do you know the difference between gross profit and net profit? Be honest with me. Tell me the truth. Do you understand the difference between gross profit percent, gross profit dollars? And I'm asking these questions because when you're in a situation, whether you're in a class or you're trying to help somebody else, as soon as you go past something you do not understand, your focus stays back there. And you cannot learn, you cannot move forward, you cannot grasp what's coming up next because you're still going, what was that? Gross profit? What does he mean? Mm-hmm. And that is so critical. So as a shop owner, if you do not understand it, you do not fully grasp, do not pretend that you do.
Right.
It will cost you too much. Be honest, because you're not alone. You are not alone, because I promise none of us starting the way we did, kind of, being whatever our backgrounds were, truly grasp those numbers unless you went to accounting school and had a good grasp for it. And even my accountants, I've gone through accountants who did not understand cost of goods sold. They had no clue what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a warning sign. So tell me, and what I want to ask all three of you is the learning curve on KPIs. I mean, can you say, hey, listen, these are the three that really changed my world?
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to take that one. So, I took a lot of accounting in high school, and even took quite a bit of accounting in a couple of years after high school, and still didn't know. So I knew the importance. I love numbers. I'm an accountant mind, yet I ran damn near 2 decades without tracking the right numbers. So I understand net profit, gross profit. That always made sense to me. I always monitored that. The biggest numbers for me that I used to miss out on is average repair order and how that can play into everything. I used to run a very high daily car count model, and a very low average repair order, sub 400 average repair order, and never knew that was a lot of work for not a lot of pay at the bottom of the line. Now that I know that there's so many more KPIs to track and that you can use to diagnose every single problem you've got going in your shop, now I'm running an average of a 13.5 average repair or car count shop and about an 800 average repair order with the same size crew. And I've got, almost 10 cars less a day coming in, 10 customers less to please, way more or way lower risk. My office is nice and calm. My staff is less stressed. We have time to take care of that customer that wants and deserves our attention. So average repair order was probably the number one KPI that I wasn't aware that I needed to track it. So therefore, obviously, I didn't track it because I didn't even know what average repair order was, and that was probably 5-6 years ago. You know what I mean? So that's mine. Average repair order.
Over to you, Bambi. Thanks, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I needed a system that would help me track my year-over-year growth, help me understand what my overhead. When I first started, I didn't even fully understand overhead. I didn't understand how to get my break even because we had such variable costs with labor and parts. I could understand, okay, my phone bill's this, my rent is this, my insurance is this. I could add all that up, but I couldn't figure out how do I need to know how many hours I need to sell that's going to cover that plus the labor and the parts, and there's mathematical equations to help you with that. So understanding how to get that operating overhead and your break-even numbers were really critical to me. I just went through an SBA program where I learned all about quick ratios and things that the banking industry looks at and how important it is to have that line of credit before you need it. So there was some really important things in there that that even now I just didn't, I'd never thought about it. We've always kind of operated Dave Ramsey like, here, if we don't have the money, we don't get it. It's the way it is. Suck it up, big boy. But we're learning, and I do need to take those things into consideration, especially if I want to grow the way in which I want to grow. So understanding my overhead, understanding my true break even, looking at my monthly numbers, not waiting until tax season and saying, wait a minute, why do I owe $16,000 and where am I going to get $16,000? So did that answer it? Sorry.
Well, it answered it according to you.
Yeah.
No, but it was great. I loved when she started talking about quick ratios and saying, where do I get that? See, that's the balance sheet side, everyone. And so everybody is, we're concentrating on the P&L, and yet there's another document that we get, and that is
there's three we need to look at. If you look at just one, man, you're in trouble. You got to look at all of them.
Is your third one the cash flow statement?
Yes.
Yeah. Really important, very critical. We've done a lot of shows on finance and stuff. Frank, you started this thing out for us, but what was the big number that changed you?
Yes, so gross profit percent was my big number, because it took me a long time to realize that without gross profit, there was no money for expenses. Rents don't change, phone bills don't change, power bills, a little bit, you got hot months, cold months, whatever. But for the most part, those hourly people, taxes, things like that, you need the money to pay those bills. And without gross profit, you don't have it. And one of the things I track the most now, this year was really important to me, is my effective labor rate. Because I always used to think my door rate was my labor rate. And then I'm crunching these numbers. I'm going, oh, wait a minute, if I did this many hours, I should have this many dollars, and I don't. What happened? So now I'm learning my effective labor rate is critical. And the lower that is, the worse I'm doing in the back of probably selling diagnoses and keeping the guys working. So I'm watching that real carefully. And Bambi, my break even, I learned that a few years ago. I actually have a spreadsheet where I can go through and I average my monthly expenses and I plug it in, and I can do my current gross profit, my target gross profit, and see how many cars I need to do, how many dollars I need to sell. And that helps me understand. And like Tom was saying, when your ARO is low and your gross profit is low, you got to bring in a lot more cars, work a lot harder, take in people you don't want to take in.
Right.
And you're just on this hamster wheel of life, never getting ahead. And when you start to really look at these numbers and realize, wait a minute, this is a legitimate business. Legitimate businesses charge a fair price and earn money, right? I can't go into the grocery store and have her ring up my groceries and have her say $72.56 and say, will you take 60?
Right. And you're not doing a good service to your clients, because you're not going to be here. You're going to miss something on quality because you're going to be tired. You're not going to give service because you're going to be angry and you're going to snot off. There's a lot of different things that impacts. So a good customer is going to want a good warranty. They're going to want someone who's going to be there long term. So I'm with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, thanks everybody. This, wow, how very, very interesting. This, Town Hall Academies go places I never expect. It's because I have such great guests on. Your customer's engine or transmission is going to fail, and that's not the end of the road for them. A remanufactured drivetrain product from Jasper Engines and Transmissions will give your customer's vehicle a new lease on life. Think Jasper. And thank you for sponsoring and supporting the Town Hall Academy. Some great comments. Always great to see Keith Perkin with us. Experience is simply the name we give our mistakes, he says. And some great chatter in the chat box. Okay, I'm gonna let you go around the room. We'll give you a final comment. This weekend, share this with some friends. I know there's a lot of people that take that cup of Java on Saturday mornings. They'll listen to a podcast or they'll watch the Facebook replay of this. Of course, we put this back out next Wednesday, so you can listen to it in your mobile commutes. And I thank you. Thanks everyone for the support of the brand, Remarkable Results, Town Hall Academy, and the new show called For the Record. Hey, let's go around the room and any great summary, any great piece of wisdom. Remember, you're having a chance to talk to people that are going to value this discussion, and maybe they'll kick their world up, instead of waiting another 2 years to finally figure it out. Let's change the world now. Tom, I'll start with you.
Yeah. So, I mean, the title of this, what did we do wrong and what did we learn from it, right? For me, the biggest life changer I've ever had is receiving training. And I think, honestly, our industry is doing a really good job lately of getting training out there in front of us. So it used to be, I would say 5 years ago, most people didn't know there was business coaches for the automotive industry. And, they're pretty now. So now it should no longer be, should I hire a coach or should I go to class? It should be, which coach am I going to hire, which classes I'm going to go to. And that goes for everybody. I know my shop is running great, and I'm still going to be in a class at least every quarter myself. So I encourage everybody out there, regardless if you're in our industry or not, get to class, find a coach, do the work.
Perfect. Bambi.
Sure. I would say determine what type of business model you want to run, and then hire smart people to help you. Partner up with other industries, get a good CPA on board, get a good HR company on board, get a bunch of people referring you. Understand, have those meetings monthly if need be, quarterly with your CPA so you understand your numbers, where you're going, what you're aiming for. Have fun in the process. Depend heavily on your people. Make sure that they've got your vision, your mission, and laugh at your mistakes. You don't have to be perfect.
Great advice. Thank you. Frank?
So, it's okay to fail, right? As long as you learn from it. And it's okay to let my people fail as long as they learn from it. Customers are going to get upset and leave no matter what we do. It's going to happen. And don't take it personally. That's, for me, the most difficult thing is still to this day. Even when I've had zero interaction, I take it personally. And can't do that. We just can't do that. I read a leadership book, and I can't remember the exact name of it. I think it was the 1 Minute Manager series. Mm-hmm. And there's 4 ways to lead people. Some people, you can tell them what to do, and they got 100% fire off and do it perfectly. Don't need to interfere or intervene. To people who need a little bit of direction, people need a little bit more direction, people who need 100% direction. And it's learning who's on your team that needs that style of leadership. And I'm trying to walk over that bridge right now. Who do I need to give a project or an assignment to and walk him through it? And who can I give it to where they could just run with it?
That's great advice. Yeah. That's great advice. Thanks to Bambi Crozier, Car Clinic in Lowell, Arkansas. Frank Scandura from Frank's European in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm going to be at his place at the end. Actually, I think November 1st, right? November 2nd. November
like that,
2nd. Yeah. And then Tom Lambert, Shadetree Automotive in Layton, Utah. Thank you so much for your contributions to the Town Hall Academy.